Hello, good evening, Sumit.
Hey John, yes, I can hear you.
I hope you can see me as well.
I can see you as well. For others in the
Hello,
house.
good evening, Sumit.
Hey John, yes, I can hear you.
I hope you can see me as well.
I can see you as well. For others in the
Hello,
house.
good evening, Sumit.
Hey John, yes, I can hear you.
Hello, good evening, Sumit. I hope you can see me.
Hey John, yes, I can hear you as well.
I hope you can
For
see me.
others in the
Hello,
house.
good evening, Sumit.
Hey John, yes, I can hear you.
Hello, good evening, Sumit. I hope you can see me.
Hey John, yes, I
Hello, Sumit.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, now it's fine.
Okay, I'm getting an echo somehow.
Okay.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, now it's fine.
Okay.
But there is some lag for some reason. Okay.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, now it's fine.
Preeti, you'll have to possibly bear with us a little while we set this up. We'll start off very soon.
All right, not an issue.
Thank you. John, can you say something?
Yeah, hi, Sumit. How has your day been?
Day's been good.
Okay.
This,
Problem
this-
sorted.
yeah, this looks like we've been able to crack the problem, what it was.
Absolutely. Because it's unusual. I've never faced such an issue with Zoom over the last several months.
Yeah, I mean, shit happens, right?
So do you want to have some other testing done as well? Possibly share the screen?
I've
Or...
just made you the co-host.
Okay.
I'm gonna try presenting your deck.
Okay.
Yeah. So I realized the problem because we are live on
Okay. Facebook.
YouTube as well.
Okay.
And I was just setting up those channels and just sharing it out. So what works, what doesn't work types. I'm just trying to get that out. Just give me 1 minute. You can share your screen in the meantime, John. I'm there on a standby. Yes, I can see.
Yeah. The screen is visible, right?
It is, yes.
Okay. So is this visible? I've switched to an Excel sheet. Is it visible?
No, the Excel sheet is not visible. The
Okay.
PPT is visible right now.
Okay. For some reason, I'm not getting the option of share desktop. Okay, so I have whiteboard the deck and generally there's a share desktop as well. So that is not to be seen. Is there any reason for that?
I'm not sure. Let me just make you a host directly.
Okay.
Instead of a co-host.
Okay.
Does that work now?
Yeah. 1 second. No.
Which is very, very surprising.
No problem. We'll manage. So this particular Excel sheet is only shared towards the end, but then the only challenge is, because I need to just do a demo as well.
So do you want to switch, turn off or exit the PPT and then select the Excel sheet? It might just give you a control to select that.
Okay. 1 second. Yeah, so I think now you'll be able to see this, right?
Now I'm able to see, yes.
Okay.
So how's the day been, John?
It's been really good in terms of discussions with clients. Then I've been coaching, few executives. So morning I had coaching sessions,
Oh, very nice.
and of course, client calls in between, and then of course also reworking on this presentation. So the day was pretty hectic, but it was a good day so far.
I
How
can.
about you?
I've been good. Just doing the programming for the channel
Okay,
of how the next 10 episodes are going to look like. So
excellent.
we are starting off with PM nights on Fridays.
Okay,
So that would be like product management nights. Mondays are for career and education.
okay,
Wednesdays would be for guys such as yourself, industry leaders, and we'll take some industry opinions on that.
okay, got it.
That's how we are planning the whole deal.
Okay,
So that should be good.
excellent.
Cool. So I think we still have about 6 minutes. I'll join you in a bit.
No
In the
problem.
meantime, why don't you share a little bit about yourself? You're one of the early ones. Give us a feedback. Is the audio okay? Video okay? Anything that you want to change? Any feedback? Not that we can change really much at this point in time, but yeah, always sounds nice to ask. Okay, looks like Preeti is not around, but
Yeah.
cool.
So possibly I'll share my screen once everyone joins in, right? Or once
Sounds
before
good.
we start.
Yes, yes, you can turn off the video for now.
Okay.
Just any minute now, sir. We should be starting. We're still waiting for people.
Sure.
Just give them some time. We have about 100 registrations for this one today.
Very good.
So, and I've already shared you the questions.
Yes.
So someone who hopefully should be dialing in from Dubai.
Okay. Is it okay? So would you take the questions or you want me to refer to it?
We can do it either which ways. I'll let them know that we have the questions with us already,
Okay.
the ones who've shared. And midway, if someone feels that he wants to ask a question, just type it in.
Sure. And we take it at the end, right?
We take it mostly at the end and somewhere middle also if it's relevant.
Okay.
And we'll probably just take it in the middle.
Perfect.
If it's not really breaking the entire flow per se. If it's breaking the flow, then
Perfect.
then we have a challenge. So how's the job market otherwise at this point in time, John? Given that you've been in the thick and thin of things, how are you how are you seeing is market recovering after the COVID situation, or is it really that bad the way it seems to be?
See, green shoots are up. However, it's only 35% of what it was possibly in Feb. Okay, so if you compare it to the situation in June, where it was possibly at 15%, it's augmented to 35% as of July. So green shoots are up. However, that's restricted to certain sectors or certain industry verticals, like IT is hiring, there is e-commerce, healthcare, pharma. So certain sectors are actually hiring, however, not really aggressively.
Okay.
And most of the hiring is happening at the mid-junior to mid-senior level.
Okay.
Not much hiring happening at the senior and top management level.
Right. And do you suppose that people are still confused about the basic business continuity plan itself, and they're kind of trying to reformat, realign,
Absolutely. Absolutely, because one is the unpredictability is one dimension of it.
Yeah.
Also, what's happened is many organizations have gone on retrenching workforce as well.
Right.
So
right.
now it's also a question of how they kind of refine or recalibrate on their strategy. And that's going to take some time. So most sectors which are hiring as of now are the sectors which are doing reasonably well, like e-commerce, since people can't go too much into malls and do shopping outside because of the risks involved and other factors.
Right.
E-commerce hiring is going on fine. EdTech was anyways hiring even when the situation was not so good. They were even hiring in April and May as well. And in certain sectors, of course, they may not be hiring really aggressively. They are hiring employees or they are hiring people based on the urgency. So because a lot of organizations have realized that they also cannot procrastinate or push the decision making to another 2 or 3 months, because then the overall direction of the company may be impacted. So even at the senior and top level, there is very less hiring happening. However, all that what is happening is based on the immediate requirement.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, John, I think you may want to make me a co-host.
Okay.
Because I'm not able to see how many people are there in the
okay.
room.
Okay, 1 second.
Yeah. I think when I made you the host, let me see. Yeah, I got it. There were 18 people
right?
out there. Yeah.
Yeah, you can manage it, right?
I can manage it now.
Okay.
21 people there already. We have 3. Interesting. All right. We have 21 folks already and counting. Very good. So we wait for a few more minutes and then
Sure.
we start.
Perfect.
I kind of realized that people are not joining in, and that's when I said that okay, there could be a problem with the rights being given
Okay.
to the host and other things. So,
Got it.
but yeah, whenever you need help with the presentation or anything, just let me know. I'll
Definitely.
make you
Absolutely fine. No problem.
brilliant stuff. Cool. So we have 25 people now, John. I think
Okay.
we should start now. The paucity of
Perfect.
time.
Perfect.
The way we would probably do it is, we start off with the agenda and then your introduction. We try and keep it crisp so
Sure.
that people kind of, enjoy. I would urge a lot of you to ask as many questions as possible. We already have some questions. A lot of you have already shared your questions, which we will try and answer as we go along. And for whatever questions you ask us in the chat, we would try and make it as relevant and into the flow itself so that you don't have to wait all the way to the end. So on that note, thank you so much, John, for joining us today. For all others, John and I went to the same class at Harvard Business School, and we used to call him John Cena of the class, and definitely is one of the most balanced, the most reputed guys in our section, and definitely he's just jumped into his entire executive coaching career. He's been in the edtech space. So, John, the stage is all yours. Thank you so much for imparting a pearls of wisdom with our audience, and it's absolutely amazing to have you on World of Webinar Originals.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sumit. Thanks for the lovely introduction. And good evening to all our friends who've joined in from various parts of the country and various parts of the globe. Sumit, firstly, I want to congratulate you because I saw a message this morning which said that World of Webinars has registered 500 webinar registrations as of today. And that's a milestone which you've cracked. So that's what I understood in the morning. And I don't know whether it's possibly because of me doing the session today, because a lot of people tell me, or a lot of folks tell me that, John, hey, you're very lucky for everyone around you. Unfortunately, you're not so lucky for yourself. So I turned out to be lucky. So let me take a bit of the credit. However, jokes apart, thanks very much for the opportunity. And I would wish WOW or World of Webinars the very best in terms of what lies for you in the future. And thanks very much for this amazing opportunity. So I would start by sharing the screen.
Sure.
Hope my screen is visible.
It is, yes.
So friends, you can see a gentleman smiling on the left side, and that happens to be me. A lot of people say that possibly your pictures don't look exactly like how you do. And I credit that to the camera trick. So the cameraman or the photographer who took this picture did a fantastic job. And there may be some deviation in terms of how I look on the screen and how exactly I come across in this picture. So just to give you a brief introduction about myself, I just don't want to go into tom-tomming about me or my background. certain key dimensions which I would want to take is, as Sumit said, I'm a Harvard Business School alumnus. In addition to HBS, I've also undergone executive education programs from top business schools, including Wharton, INSEAD, MIT Sloan, Columbia, and Tuck. I also have completed degree programs and postgraduate degree programs at the University of Mumbai. I have 20 years of professional and entrepreneurial experience, having worked with organizations like Franklin Covey. So, for many of y'all who would be aware and who would have read the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So, Franklin Covey is promoted by a gentleman by the name of Stephen R. Covey, or Dr. Stephen Covey, who is the author of that best-selling book. So, that was my exposure of how I accidentally ventured into the training and coaching domain around 10 years back. I've also spent 7 years building Eruditus and Emeritus. I'm sure all of you all would have heard of Eruditus and Emeritus. These are two significant brands, prominent brands in the arena of online learning and executive education. In addition to that, I've also spent time at Randstad. I've spent a few years at Randstad as a part of the executive search business of the company and contract staffing side of the business. Currently, I am an entrepreneur managing my own organization, which goes by the name of EclatMax Training and Consulting. So when you can see the virtual screen just behind me, that's the brand and what my company stands for. I also spearhead the digital marketing vertical for the company, which operates as a separate unit. And that's a brief about what my background is all about.
Thank you so much, John. That's really amazing. I'm going to probably talk to you about how did you come up with that name, EclatMax? But
Absolutely.
That's side chat sometime. But yeah,
absolutely. So I would also want the participants. So I believe in having an interactive discussion. So can I have participants just chat, just type WOW, WOW on the chat screen? Okay, because WOW is the world of webinars, and thanks for Sumit and World of Webinars for ensuring that we have WOW session. Fantastic. Thanks very much, all of you all. So great, really nice to see the enthusiasm and the exuberance. So let me start by giving you a factual instance of someone who you can see on the screen. Can some of you just mention who's on the screen? It's a no-brainer. However, can you just type in who's on the screen, who you can see on the screen? Someone very quickly. Absolutely, Sundar Pichai. So the reason I brought up Sundar Pichai's image is to take you through a small experience that I had with a gentleman by the name of Ganesh Iyer. So Ganesh Iyer was a gentleman, or is a gentleman, who's spent 4 years along with Sundar Pichai at IIT Kharagpur in the years 1989 to 1993. So they were in the same cohort. Ganesh moved on to have a stellar career for himself, and he's currently taken an early retirement. He was in touch with me for many years. He's still in touch with me. And in 2015, when I got to know about this particular gentleman called Sundar Pichai, whom I've never heard about earlier, and during one of my discussions with Ganesh, I was informed that they have a bond and they have this kind of association going on for many years. I tried to understand more about this person called Sundar Pichai. Honestly, at that point of time, I didn't know that he will become such a great figure in his domain and one of the highest paid executives in US Incorporated. However, I just wanted to understand the story, and I wanted to understand what actually made him come to the level or the sphere that he has attained in his professional life. So I was informed that Sundar Pichai was not a computer science engineer. So he had nothing to do with computer science during his graduation or his IIT Kharagpur days. He was actually someone who did his engineering in metallurgical sciences. After his stint at IIT Kharagpur, he even went on to do a master's or an MS in material sciences at Stanford University. However, what distinguished him from anyone else, and this is what feedback I have got, is his ability to keep learning and keep adapting. Possibly because of his acumen, because of his orientation, possibly background and upbringing also are factors. Sundar was someone who always thought a cut above the rest and ensured that every element or every dimension that he got to learn and improve his skills, he did that. And that's what he actually carried for most or all of his professional life. So in fact, when he joined Google as well, he ensured that in spite of his background, he will become the master of his domain. He in fact successfully went on to work on certain projects which have been defining projects, I would say, in the history of mankind, like the Google Chrome, the Google Drive. These are factors which are a part of our daily lives, and he's been someone who's actually worked on all those projects. And because of his ability to learn, grow, accumulate skills with each day, he's managed to reach the level which possibly very few can reach. So I wanted to take the story and tell you, or possibly set the tone for the element of career immunity, because that's one of the points that we plan to cover as a part of this particular webinar. So what is it that we are going to cover in this webinar? Let me take you through a 4-point roadmap. So extremely simple, friends. I've not made any complexity out here. I have put it across 4 critical dimensions. One is building career immunity. So these days, all of us talk about health immunity. However, in addition to health immunity, it's also necessary to have career immunity. How do you build that? Then, for any of our friends who are looking out for better job opportunities, I have come up with a framework or a strategy which is called the WIN strategy. And I would share some highlights pertaining to the WIN strategy with you. So you'll need to give me some time to come there, and I'll explain what exactly the WIN strategy envisages. Then creating an effective resume, which is extremely important because the resume is a mirror of your profile. And what exactly goes into creating an effective resume is what I would take you through. Last, however, not least, job search tools. And like they say, you always keep the best for the last. In fact, that's the name of a famous song as well. So I have kept the best for the last. And I would also be conducting a demo to show you certain job search tools which you can utilize to take your job search to a positive approach. So that's what the roadmap is all about, these 4 elements. Now, as Sumit said, I have been coaching a lot of senior executives, and this picture that you see on the screen is symbolic on what I have experienced over the last few months, especially post-lockdown started. Now, there is one set of individuals who are absolutely dejected at what has happened. Possibly there are pay cuts, there have also been job losses, and there has been this element of stress created in every person. So there are people who are so frustrated that they want to bang their head on their keyboard. At the same time, there are also folks who take this as an opportunity. So I've come across fabulous executives who have taken this as an opportunity to upskill themselves. And let me tell you, these executives have not had it easy themselves. So they have also had a tough time. However, in spite of whatever they're going through, they have decided that let's not be reactive. So in life, you have 2 approaches with you. Either you're reactive or you're proactive. So they have decided we are not going to be reactive, rather we are going to be proactive, and we are going to use this opportunity to upskill ourselves, do better in our organization, and third, take the organization to the next level. Now, going on to this set of individuals, so when I had these interactions with these individuals, I tried to understand what is it that they're currently doing which makes them in a better position in managing their jobs effectively. And what exactly are they doing right, and what is motivating them to, get up in the morning and do what they're doing. And I've realized a few critical elements which I'm listing down or I'm presenting before you. So first is make the job work. So I'm sure many of you all are currently on a job and possibly enjoying your job. In case you're not enjoying, ensure that you enjoy the job, because it's not a very easy market outside. So making the job work is going to be extremely important. at times you have to not only focus on what you're doing, you also need to have an element of flexibility, a positive attitude, because at the end of the day, it's your attitude which defines your altitude. Very important in managing your job is not only managing your work, but also managing your boss. So when I speak to many of my executives who are undergoing coaching with me, one thing comes out is there are a set of coaches who say that my boss has become even more friendlier with me after this entire pan of or the lockdown process has started. And some have actually turned even more rigorous in terms of their demands. Whatever be the scenario, you have to understand that you need to ensure that your boss is managed well, because until that happens, your survival or growth in your current job is going to be a question mark. And last, however, not least, you're having a job currently, irrespective of a salary cut or any other factor. Please remember to have this attitude of gratitude. So that's what I tell to a lot of individuals who speak to me on a regular basis. Please have the attitude of gratitude, because at times we take everything for granted, and this scenario is what teaches us that nothing can be taken for granted in life. So you have a job at hand. Sorry for being repetitive. Please be grateful that you have one. Of course, there would be shortcomings, there would be flaws, but having a job in hand is better than not having anything at all. So I would just like to take a pause and just check. Hope I'm audible, and if you could just type a wow. A few of y'all can just type a wow quickly. Thanks. So I'll go on to the next part of what I want to present, and that's all about career immunity. Now, I have got a feedback from a lot of my friends that I'm not very good in mathematics and formulae. So I've devised a formula for career immunity. And there is no rocket science when it comes to that. So what is career immunity? It's an addition of three elements. One is the skills that you have. Two is the network that you possess. And three is your project B. So skills and network, I'm sure you very clearly understand. Project B is nothing but an alternative career stream. Many of us only focus on our existing job. However, what is necessary for each one of us, in addition to our job, we also need to build an alternative career, because these days matters are pretty volatile or uncertain. So along with our current job, we also need to have a project B or plan B in place. And of course, I will go into explaining more about these elements in the coming slides. So first, I want to just, take you through some of the skills which are hot today. So you can see it on the screen. This is something which has been confirmed after going through various research reports, including Bloomberg Business Today reports. So these are the 8 hot sectors where the skills pertaining to these domain areas are extremely relevant and extremely hot. So when I talk about skills, please understand that in today's job market, for anyone who not only wants to grow in their company, but also for our friends who want to look at opportunities outside, understand in today's scenario, you're going to get a better opportunity, or you possibly become eligible for a better opportunity only if you have 2 very critical things with you. One is the best of skills, or a good network. So having skills and relevant skills is extremely important. So as you can see, there are 8 hot skills which are mentioned here. But I believe, although I accept this report and I've put it across on a slide, I would rather say that whatever fuels your passion, you can always create a skill, or you can always upgrade to that skill or get that skill to the next level, in addition to taking up any of these and specializing in it. So it's not mandatory that just because a research document has published these 8 skills which are hot today, you need to get into any of that. But look at what is your passion and accordingly try to upgrade your skills accordingly. Now, when it comes to skill building, so as I said, you need to build skills. for any growth as a part of your career, none of us are going to grow unless we keep upskilling or reskilling ourselves. And when it comes to skill building, there is a very simple dimension which I've created, which is called L I square P. Okay, now it's a 4-term concept. So what is L, what is I square, and what is P? I'll take you through that. So the first part of how you build skills, and let me tell you, this is something which is not, rocket science. It's very simple. I'm sure many of y'all would be already aware of it. However, what I'm trying to do is affirm or iterate on that so that, it becomes more clear to you. So first is learning. So how do you learn a new skill? One, of course, taking up training programs. These days, online training programs are pretty popular. You go to Coursera, you have thousands of free courses available. So learning is possibly the first way to build a certain skill. The second part is interacting with people who already have the skill. Okay. So interacting with people who have the skill and getting to understand more about that specific skill and having discussions with them would enable you to understand how you implement the skill, or at least the methodology in implementing a certain skill. For all of you who are yet to start their careers, or who are going to start their careers, or just have started in the last few months, or recently, taking up internships. So what I've seen is, one is understanding about a skill, and two is actually putting it into action. As you are all aware, putting knowledge into action is extremely important as compared to just keeping knowledge and imagination. So you need to implement what you have learned. For freshers or for our friends who are at the beginning of their career, taking up internships without a view of the monetary dimension and rather focusing on the learning dimension or skill building dimension will be extremely important. For all of us who have possibly reached a certain level in our career, taking up projects is going to be another avenue for us to build our skill. So in fact, I'll give you the example of a certain lady whom I've been coaching. So she has been in the sales domain for 12 years of her career. Although she's an engineer, she had to, because of various reasons, she moved into sales, and she was not too happy being in sales. And she also did a course in artificial intelligence. And she came to me and asked me that, John, I've done a course, I've done an online course in artificial intelligence, but when I'm trying to look at a job opportunity, I'm not getting such a job opportunity. What do I do now? Okay, so I said that the possible reason for you not getting a job opportunity in that area of artificial intelligence is because you don't have any existing experience there. All your experience focuses on sales. So I advised her to take up freelance projects, possibly over the weekend, because for her, weekends were non-working. She reached out to folks within her network and got such opportunities. And for 6 months, she handled a project where without any payment, she was in an artificial intelligence related project activity. And I'm happy to tell you, just last month, she got a job opportunity at Upgrad in the domain which she, wanted to get into. So that's, an element in terms of how you implement your knowledge and take up projects to take your career to the next level. Now, there is this question about what is Project B. So Project B is all about having an alternative career, like I mentioned to you all. Why do we need a Project B as of today? The reason is the times are extremely unpredictable as of today. As you know, as you have all seen over the last few months, we've actually seen the entire element of the world going through volatile and uncertain times. So times are unpredictable. So there is no way we can just depend on our existing job opportunity. We need to also look beyond that. As I said, alternative career option is something which we all need to have, because most of us only have a single career option, which makes it a very risky proposition for us. And like every good career-oriented person, it makes sense to ensure that you have multiple career options in place, or at least 2 career options in place. Third, it becomes very difficult for a lot of individuals when they lose their job, because many of us are only dependent on a passive income, on an active income. So in addition to an active income, we also need to get a passive income on board. So today, in these scenarios where you've had job cuts and people losing out on their jobs, how do they sustain? So I'll give you an example of a gentleman who I was coaching, who I realized had a flair as a voiceover artist. So although he was a senior executive in an organization, for some reason during our conversation, I realized that he has a deep baritone, and he's someone who also had interest as a to give voiceover in commercials, or possibly in feature films, or other avenues. So I recommended, or I told him, why don't you look at that, since that is an area of your passion? Why don't you look at that as something which you can do by the side? And he actually ended up doing that. He did well for himself along with his job. So over the weekends for many years, he was actually doing voiceovers and having those assignments done along with his job, ensuring that there is no conflict of interest or any such issue. And once this entire situation of COVID started, his organization reduced salaries of all senior level employees by 50%. So he had to go through 50% salary cut. But then, because of him having his entire income that he got from the voiceover, which was just lying idle in the bank, he didn't need to worry about anything. So when I spoke about him, he was absolutely relaxed. He said, John, there is no issue at all. Although my salary has come down by 50%, but then because all my assignments, which I did the voiceover for, all that money is just lying in the bank. So what he very smartly did is, along with this active income, he also had a passive income, which became something good for him to fall back on in these difficult times. And last, however, not least, is this element of security, which is personal and professional security, which having a project B in life gives you.
John, I have a question coming in from Anwar, who's asking about how can people who are already working do internships in other areas? For example, how can a person working in a power sector get an experience in UI UX and change career except by freelancing?
Okay. See, honestly, that's currently the only option available, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, and that's what most folks do. And this can only happen through people through your network, or by connecting with people through LinkedIn. Okay, so the best way, and in fact, this is the way which I have seen most of my contacts or my coaches doing it. Of course, I am always there to support them in whatever way required. However, what works is to reach out to people in their network and tell them that I want to work with you and I don't expect anything in return in terms of payment. So in fact, when you tell this to most people, by that itself, they are surprised that why does someone want to work without even getting a stipend or a small payment. So as long as there is no commercial dimension involved, the possibility of someone saying no is limited. So because most people don't want to spend, right?
Correct.
Okay, and that's a factor. So when you're going to be telling someone that I'm ready to work for you for free and I'm ready to do it over the weekend, I doubt, because see, you can't sacrifice your current day job. So you need to do it along with your current job. And that's what you can do after work hours or during the weekends. But then what it does, it helps you create a new skill, which you can put it up on your profile or your resume. I hope I've answered the question.
Right. I'll probably have a couple of more to add in to this one as we go along towards the later end.
Absolutely. Perfect.
Great.
Sure. So I'll also take the participants through what I've devised in terms of a strategy, which is called the WIN strategy. So in fact, after a lot of thought, thanks to my experience in the executive search domain, I came up, or I coined this particular strategy, which is called the WIN strategy. Now, what is the WIN strategy pertaining to job search? Now, the traditional format of job search starts with introspection. However, my experience and my thought says that you don't start with introspection because you're not in a seller's market. So, like any business, the job market is also a business. There are buyers and there are sellers. So, there are people who want to sell their talent and there are people who want to buy talent from them. So, unfortunately, we are not in a seller's market, we are in a buyer's market. So, that's where the first question of the W is what jobs are actually available? What jobs are actually available? That's the first question. And when it comes to this dimension, the most important aspect is understanding the job market. So we need to understand what the existing job market is. Like, for example, just a few minutes back, Sumit and me were discussing on what is the current scenario. And since I am very actively involved in, career coaching, I have the statistics that the hiring process as of today is 35% of what it was in the month of Feb. Okay, so the green shoots are actually emerging. So having an understanding of which sectors are hiring and understanding or getting a very clear understanding on the job market is very critical. The next step is going to be planning your strategy. So what is your strategy, which could be the net approach or the spear approach? So when I talk of the net approach, it's a diversified approach where you reach out to all people in your network or just randomly keep applying for job opportunities. In fact, that's an approach which may work. In addition to that, there's another approach which is called the spear approach. So the spear approach is much more focused, where you decide for yourself who you will approach. For example, just to give you an understanding, it could be creating a list of 100 companies on an aspirational basis. And of course, those companies should be hiring as well. So creating that list, one. The second approach is mapping out key decision makers or HR personnel in those organizations and reaching out directly to them, through LinkedIn or through some common reference. So what I have seen, the net approach does work, but net approach can always end up wasting some element of our time. However, the spear approach, which is much more focused, where we know exactly what we are looking at, because at the end of the day, your focus and you know what you're attacking, that's when you actually can be successful in this process. So that's the approach. And although I would recommend the spear approach, both the approaches are available. I'm sure all of you all have heard of KYC. So in India, KYC is a very popular term whenever we want to apply for a credit card or whenever we want to apply for a loan. So there is this another concept which is called KYE, which is know your employer. So knowing your employer, the organization that you're applying to, that's extremely critical. In fact, I have conducted, thousands of interviews in the past. And one unfortunate part is people turn up for interviews without even studying about the role that they've applied for or studying about the organization where they've applied the role for. So knowing your employer, knowing the organization which you've applied to is going to be extremely important.
Absolutely.
Now, the next point is introspection. So second part is where I suggest that you need to do this introspection. As you all know, every journey, including a career transformation journey or a journey to getting a better job, starts with you. Or possibly that's one of the critical steps. So how do you introspect, understand, what exactly are the skills that you have? Before that, also understand, are you ready for the job jump? The skills that you have, the strengths that you have, and where do you improve? Because if you don't work on these 4 questions, so these 4 questions in terms of introspection are extremely important. And that is necessary to bridge the gap between the job that you want to apply to or the job that you want to get and where you currently stand. And how do you bridge this gap is going to be through this process of introspection. Last, however, not least, is the element of network. So as you see, I have put up the statement saying network is equal to net worth. And that's absolutely true in today's time. So just to tell you or to reiterate on what I had mentioned, these days, having the best skills and having a fabulous network, these are two dimensions which will enable you to take your career to the next level. I would also like to mention or take up a small story about JP Morgan. Okay, I hope many of you all have heard of JP Morgan. So JP Morgan was a very prominent banker in the US. He is a gentleman who set up a behemoth financial services empire, which is JP Morgan Chase. He's also financed a lot of major infrastructure projects in the late 1800s and early 1900s. So in fact, the Suez Canal was a project which he actually financed. Now, there is a story about JP Morgan and the importance of network. So in fact, JP Morgan, and he was extremely successful, and this was in the early 1900s. So on a certain afternoon of a particular day, JP Morgan was in his office in Wall Street, New York, Central Business District, and a young man actually walks up to him into his office and requests him for a loan for his business. Now, this young man doesn't know JP Morgan, nor does JP Morgan know him. Of course, he would have heard of JP Morgan being a reputed personality, but they don't know each other. And JP Morgan was extremely cautious by nature, being the astute financier that he was. So he told this gentleman who asked him for a loan, he said, "Son, I don't know you, so I can't give you money. I only lend to people whom I know. I can't take the risk." So this gentleman was dejected and he turned back to go. Somewhere JP Morgan felt a bit bad for him. And he said, "Son, wait, I can't give you money, but I can do something for you. So it's just 12:30 now and I'm going to go home for lunch. So why don't you do one thing? Just come with me to the place where I parked my car and let's have a chat until then. And let's chat, and possibly you can also hold my arm while we move towards my car." So they came down the building together and they were chatting on a lot of things. And towards the end of the street was where JP Morgan's car was parked. And the entire street was lined up by people who offered loans to businessmen. So they saw this individual who they had all refused. So in fact, this boy or this gentleman had reached out to all these individuals who were giving business loans, and all of them had refused him, unfortunately. However, now they took notice of the fact that this gentleman was moving with JP Morgan, a celebrity figure in those days. And somewhere they built this perception or got this perception that this gentleman is known to JP Morgan, because the way they were chatting, the way they were laughing, and that's the understanding of the perception that they got. By the time they went to the car, JP Morgan went into his car and he sped away. 20 of those people who were offering loans came up to this gentleman and offered loans. So that is what is the power of perception. So as very famously, there is a quote, "It's not only what you know, it's also whom you know," which is extremely important in success or for you to be successful. And I just tried to bring out the story to highlight the importance of having a network and for you to build your net worth through your network. So how do you build your network? Of course, professional networks like LinkedIn. Chartered accountants have their own professional network, which is an offline network. So joining a professional network is definitely one way. Being a part of social platforms. So of course, when I talk of social platforms, I'm not necessarily talking about Facebook. So I'll give you my own example. So I'm a part of Toastmasters International. So that enables me to enhance my communication skills. It also enables me to meet people from different parts of society or from different walks of life. So networking beyond your industry or beyond your functional domain is also extremely important. And joining social platforms is also going to be extremely important to build your network. Now, any network cannot be established in case you're looking at only building transactional relationships. What I've seen in a lot of even senior executives, everyone or many people look at networking only as an avenue for receiving something. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way, my dear friends. Network needs to be constantly nurtured. You can't expect only to get out of the network, and that's where the next approach becomes very important. G2G approach. Now, G2G is not name of any movie. G2G refers to give to get. So the more you give to your network, the more is it that you get from them. Okay, so that's one element you need to understand, and building network doesn't happen instantly. It takes time and effort. But let me guarantee you and let me assure you, the moment that you start consciously building your network, you will be able to get the benefits out of it, and that's going to impact your career. So just like how you build your career, which is not a short-term activity, even building your network is going to be a medium-term or long-term activity. So I would request you to be focused and to ensure that you keep approaching it the right way and give to people in your network, and you see how you get back from them, and you'll never be dejected. Now, again, I would want to share a formula with you, and that's dream job is equal to network into referrals plus personal brand. So the reason I put network into referrals, your network in most cases give you the referral or they introduce you to new people. So that's critical factors to enable you to get your dream job. In addition to that, it's also the power of personal branding. So unfortunately, we don't estimate the power of personal brand to the right level. However, in this perception-driven scenario that we are all a part of, personal branding becomes extremely important. So understand, you, me, Sumit, everyone in this particular webinar are brands of our own. And the only way that we can progress in our job, in our business, or anything that we do is to build a strong personal brand. If you don't build a strong personal brand, you basically become one among thousands or millions. And the focus on building personal brand needs to be there at all times. Now, going into a dimension which a lot of our friends had asked me, but before I go into that, I would just want to take a pause and have our colleagues give a thumbs up. So can our friends just give a quick thumbs up to understand that people are awake? I hope I've not put everyone to sleep. Can you all just give a thumbs up? Okay. Thanks very much. So now, building an effective resume, what I've seen through my career and until date, especially in India, many of us don't realize the difference between a resume and a CV. Okay, we all presume that they may be the same by itself. Let me tell you, a resume need not have to be a detailed document. It's only a snapshot pertaining to your achievements until date. So a CV is a document which can be more comprehensive in nature, but generally a resume has to be something which is not more than 2 pages in terms of its length. What's most important is only include key highlights within your resume. So I see a lot of resumes which are cluttered, where there's information which is not even required. Okay, so in fact, just the other day I came across a resume, where the person even put a very, personal, of course, we all put our personal IDs as a part of your resume. However, understand that you're sending your resume with that email ID to companies or to decision makers. So unfortunately, I don't want to give the name of the person, but you had this term called lover boy, which came on the email ID. So I couldn't understand how this person could actually include such an ID or such term as a part of the email ID and put it across on the resume. So these are small things, but understand, recruiters are analyzing and reviewing resumes very closely. So you need to put your best foot forward, and you need to ensure that it's, as perfect that you can make it to be.
John, I have a
Now,
question at this point in
yes,
time.
yeah, sure.
For the interest of all others, how much time do people really spend in scanning a resume?
Okay. So honestly, the dimension has changed or the process has changed. So now a lot of activity is taken by the ATS. Okay, ATS refers to the application tracking system. So when you submit your resume to a certain job opening,
Yeah.
so it doesn't directly go to the recruiter. It is scanned by the ATS, and only then it is actually, depending on a certain level of match. Generally, it can be anywhere between 60 to 80% match, depending on the protocol that the company or the recruiter has set. Only then, so if it is less than 60, if I take that as a number, then possibly the resume doesn't even go forward. It's directly rejected. Okay,
Wow.
so now technology and the use of algorithms in the backend has ensured that recruiter's job becomes easier, but at the same time, it makes the person who's applying to the job, their job difficult, because they also need to focus on putting the right keywords within their resume. So there are certain keywords which you can incorporate. So in fact, I have a demo towards the end, which I will show you,
Fantastic.
pertaining to an ATS system. So which will give you a real-time feedback vis-a-vis your resume and a job opening in terms of the compatibility between the resume and the opportunity. So I'll take you through that as we go along.
Super.
Clear on this?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. In fact, Disha is messaging separately on the question that I was just asking, how much time does it take? And she has some startling uh, number there. She's saying just 7%, 7 seconds.
Absolutely.
7 seconds
Absolutely.
is all it takes for anybody to really scan the resume. I'm like, wow. And that
Absolutely.
really is, and just one page between you and that job.
Absolutely.
So it
Absolutely.
makes so much more important for why a resume is so critical. Um,
Absolutely.
Proceed. Thanks, John. This is
Yes.
really, really
Yes.
helpful.
Absolutely. So other than the highlights, it's also going to be the quantitative factors. We come across a lot of resumes where you don't have any quantitative data. It's just text, and there are a lot of words attached to it. So what any of you who is in the process of creating your resume or making their resume better needs to understand that you need to give quantitative metrics, or you need to put numbers as a part of the resume. Now for a salesperson, it's very easy. You put details pertaining to your achievement in terms of the sales that you've bought in for the organization. In terms of an operations person, it could be in terms of timelines. Okay, so one point you will have to bear in mind is ensure that there is no confidentiality violation. So in case your organization has certain confidentiality norms and you can't put it on the public platform, you'll need to be cautious. Otherwise, wherever you can put quantitative data, because as you all are aware, what is quantifiable is understandable and measurable. Okay, so people can measure or understand what is it that you've achieved based on the certain numbers that you have given. So rather than putting that I had a good level of achievements managing sales for the organization, which is a very ambiguous term, which doesn't give you a very clear understanding of what was your achievement, as compared to that, if you mention that in 2018-19, I achieved sales worth $10 million. So you just put numbers onto that, that entire paradigm shifts or the entire perspective changes. So putting quantitative metrics, quantitative data as a part of your resume becomes extremely important. And having a simple, crisp, and concise resume. Please don't make something which is too complex. As Steve Jobs very famously mentioned, simplicity is the best form of sophistication. So you need to keep your resume as simple as possible. Of course, you can always use certain jargon, but let it not be too heavy on jargon, because then the problem is the CV may not go forward in terms of the application tracking system. And that's what was my final point. So Sumit brought it up earlier, which is the ATS, or the application tracking system. So every resume these days needs to be ATS compatible. And how do you have it, or how do you make it as ATS compatible? There are certain tools for doing that, one of which I would share with you towards the end of the session. Now, in addition to a resume, what's extremely important is the cover note. So since most resumes these days are going as a part of an email attachment, so along with the attachment, you also need to put a text. And my discussions with executive recruiters or headhunters, in fact, I get a very clear understanding, or I obtained a very clear understanding that 80% of people don't realize the importance of a good cover note. In fact, recruiters prefer that the cover note is customized to the company or to wherever organization they are applying to. So although it may be a very small element of what you're actually doing as compared to your resume, understand that even a cover note is extremely critical. One, the cover note needs to be very crisp, just like the resume. Of course, cover note should not be more than 2 paragraphs. Okay, 2 paragraphs or maximum 3 lines each. At the same time, it should be very much personalized to the organization that you're applying to, where you need to bring out the value that you can bring to the organization. So in a sentence or two, you need to create that pitch as to why someone should click and open your resume after seeing your mail. Because if you don't do that, if you don't personalize the cover note, the possibility someone will actually delete your email and you have no possibility of even appearing for an interview in that organization. So creating a customized cover note is extremely important. And a few more points. In addition to your resume, of course, all of you all are aware that having a robust e-presence, more importantly, a LinkedIn presence, is critical. In fact, there was a study which LinkedIn came up with a few months ago, where 84% of recruiters these days use LinkedIn for hiring, and 95% of recruiters use LinkedIn for vetting someone's profile. So at times they possibly get a reference of an individual, maybe through an industry network or through some other source. But even after that, the first place that they turn up at to check the background of the individual is LinkedIn. So that shows how important LinkedIn is. So LinkedIn profile needs to be up to date. You need to have a nice professional picture as a part of your LinkedIn profile, because at times we come across a lot of LinkedIn profiles with very personal images. So let me tell you, LinkedIn is not Facebook, it's not Tinder, or it's not any social platform. So unfortunately, there are also individuals who use LinkedIn as a form of dating app, but unfortunately, that's not the reality, or that's not the reason why LinkedIn has been created. So it's a professional platform, and we need to put a professional image of ourselves there. Now, as a part of the process, because a lot of hiring is happening and there are massive job opportunities which you can get access through LinkedIn, or even through Facebook, or through most other platforms, using hashtags to search for job opportunities would be a good approach, which would be a time-effective approach. So there are popular hashtags like hashtag now hiring, hashtag job search, which you can use to get the best results in terms of the search process on LinkedIn. Now, the entire process of interviews has turned upside down. Few months back, all major interviews happened face-to-face. Now the interview process has all moved to the virtual platform, including Zoom. However, understand that although it has moved to a virtual platform, that doesn't diminish the importance of the process by itself. And that doesn't take away any factor, including the way you need to be dressed. So I have come across cases where, I had to be as a part of an interview panel, and I've not only seen participants or possibly the candidates coming in semi-formals or maybe even in casuals, I've seen even interviewers turning up in casual attire. So now that's an absolute no. Understand that this virtual interview is replication of a real face-to-face interview, and we all need to understand that and accordingly turn up for interviews in the right attire. Another element, when I go through a lot of interviews, people have a lot to talk about. But what element most recruiters or most organizations who are taking a decision would appreciate is the element of storytelling as a part of the interview process. So you or any of our friends looking at a better opportunity would have to create that story and present that story before your target audience or before the interviewer. Because the best way to capture your overall experience is to presenting it as a part of a story where you take the person through the highs and lows in terms of your career and makes it much more compelling and much more forceful. And that's where, the impact becomes much more, efficient. And that's what, you'll need to keep in perspective. In fact, creating a support group, especially in times like these when you have a lot of people or a lot of individuals who are looking out at better job opportunities, and each person would have limited bandwidth and limited, time and various other resources to his or her disposal. So forming a support group of your friends or people who you are aware of and helping each other in this process would be extremely beneficial. So you can create a support group where in case you come across a job opportunity where someone else can benefit, you pass on that information to the other person in your support group. And what happens as a result of that, there is this entire element of reciprocity which is built. So I mentioned to you earlier about give to get as a concept. So this is something which is attached to it where you provide and help to an individual and somewhere he or she reciprocates to that, and this actually works. So in fact, I had recommended a few individuals to form a support group when they're looking out for an opportunity. There were 5 of them. And because of the efforts or the collective efforts, collective intelligence of that entire group, not all 5 of them have got a job until now. However, 2 of them have actually got a job opportunity. One of them has already joined. And they credit it because of this collective factor where people have come together, helped each other in this time of crisis. So in fact, they've also done mock interviews with one another. Okay, because many of them had this challenge in terms of how they, present themselves as a part of a virtual discussion. So mock interviews were conducted. All those exercises enable them to get better. And at least 2 of them have got an opportunity. I'm sure the others also would. And when it comes to a career transformation or a career journey or career management, the process is incomplete without a mentor. So what I myself have realized in my career, that you need a mentor who you can reach out to for not only support, but also for guidance. Someone with whom you can convey your thoughts, a person who can be a sounding board. It could be your relative, it could be your friend, it could be anyone, an ex-colleague or an ex-boss. However, one point which I want each of you all to understand, and I'm sure many of you all are at the early part or somewhere towards the middle of your career, you need to have a mentor with you who can be a sounding board to you, who can give you the right guidance for you to take your career to the next level. Okay, so that's about getting the importance of mentoring. So now I would want to share some job search tools. So how many of you all want to see a demo? Can you all put a wow? How many of you all want to see a demo? Okay. Thanks very much. So the first part is Google Intelligence Search. So I'll have to, get on to an Excel sheet and as well as, to my email browser or to my web browser. So I'll just need some patience because there may be some technical matters which I'll have to accommodate. So please bear with me on that. So what is Google Intelligence Search? So Google by itself is a repository of jobs, and I would give you access to a few pointers which you can utilize to access job opportunities across websites using Google search. See, unfortunately, every platform is different. We need to log in separately and look for job opportunities. However, there is also a mechanism and there are certain cheat words, if I could use the term. If you insert those words on Google search, you can actually, Sumit, sorry to interrupt. Sumit, is my audio, can you hear me? Is there anything wrong with my audio?
I hear you, yeah.
Okay, because I get a feedback from Murli that he can't hear my audio. So I hope I'm clear. Okay, so I'll just share my screen right away, or I'll just share an Excel document right away.
Sure.
So hope all of you all can see this particular Excel sheet, right? Is it visible?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. So possibly I will not go into each part of it, but just give you an idea. So you see this on to your right, you will have the Google keywords, and on the left you have the objective on why you want to use those keywords. So for example, if any of you is searching for two sets of jobs, so one is a customer service manager job as well as a team leader job. How do you effectively search for that? So what you just need to do is take these keywords. I'll just yeah. So hope you can see my Google screen. You can see my screen, right?
It's a long tab, small tab which is coming in.
Okay.
Not the entire screen per se.
Okay.
I can see google.co.in though, and you have a tab opened. I'm not sure.
Okay, just hold on.
Sure.
Is it visible now?
Yes.
Yeah. So I just go on to Google search and just type customer service manager jobs or team leader jobs. And I have all the jobs for customer service and team leader across various platforms which appear here. So be it Naukri, Monster, all those jobs. In fact, very interestingly, there's a job for Sumit, the voice is echoing.
Let me just check why is this happening.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah,
I think it's fine now.
It's
so
fine.
Interestingly, Whitehat Junior, which has been acquired by Byju's last week, they're also looking out for a contact center operations team lead. So in case any of you all are interested in this, please apply for that. So coming back to the sheet, so there seems to be certain technical issues. So I may not be able to share, each part, but then, possibly you all can take a picture of this or take a screenshot of this, and possibly I can try once more. So one more keyword. So in case any of you all are looking out for a government or a job in the education sector, you can just copy. Hope this Excel sheet is visible.
It is visible.
Visible, right? Okay. Yeah. So just copy that, and I again take you to the screen. So I just type assistant professor site :edu, and all the jobs across institutions in India for that particular role come up on Google search. Okay, so this is very effective because you don't need to actually do the search individually going to portals. You can access all these opportunities directly on Google. Okay.
Interesting.
So how many of you all were not aware of it? I just want to understand. So anyone who's some of you, because I'm sure many of you all would have already been aware, but maybe folks who have not been aware of it can just mention.
Not me, clearly.
Okay. So what I will do for everyone's benefit, I'll just share the Excel sheet once more.
Yeah, yeah.
So I would have wanted to take people through more sections, but then there seems to be a challenge there. So of course it's very simple. You just need to put the same keywords and you get all the data. So just to take you through this Excel sheet. Hope the Excel sheet is visible, Sumit.
Yes.
Yeah. So in case you are looking at, say, an operations manager role, and you only want results from Indeed.com, so you can just type on Google search operations manager site Indeed.com, and you'll have all opportunities pertaining to Indeed coming up. Another option is, in case you're looking at specific websites for a digital marketing manager opportunity. So you just mention all in title digital marketing manager site naukri.com or site linkedin.com, which I've mentioned, and all those relevant job opportunities come to you on screen. You don't even have to go through Naukri, or you don't have to go into LinkedIn.
Wow, this
So
is gold.
absolutely. So I would request whoever is interested, please take a picture or please take a screenshot, and definitely you can benefit out of it.
And the recording is there on YouTube, so
Perfect. Then it's fine.
refer it back, so not a problem.
Perfect.
Fantastic.
So the next point is what I had mentioned about in terms of the application tracking system, or the ATS.
Yeah.
Okay. So there is a very prominent website which is called JobScan. How many of you all are aware of JobScan? Can people who have used JobScan in the past, put yes? No. Okay. Okay. Shweta has used it. Yeah. For the benefit of the others, I'll need to again do a demo there. So please bear with me for a few seconds. I hope my screen is visible and you can see the Google bar. It's visible, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I just go to Google and just type JobScan. I go to the website. Yeah. And this is a website. It's pretty user-friendly by the way it operates. And I just for the purpose of demonstration, I try a sample resume. So if you can see, there are 2 steps which are mentioned, which you all can customize as a part of your process. Step 1 is you can paste or upload your resume, and step 2 is you can paste a job description. Now, the reason for us to do this is to make our resume, or to understand whether our resume fits the bill pertaining to the application tracking system. Because these days what happens, when you send a resume, it doesn't end up at the recruiter's mailbox directly. It first goes through the system. The system, based on certain parameters which have been set, certain algorithms which have been embedded, the system takes a call whether to forward the resume or not. Okay, so in case it doesn't meet a certain percentage of requirement, the resume doesn't even land up at the recruiter's mailbox. So to test that, JobScan is a fabulous tool. Of course, there are limitations in terms of how many such searches you can do. They have a paid version. However, it's highly recommended for you to take a paid version, although I'm not a representative of the organization. Let me clear that. So it can be a good tool for you to bypass, or to kind of calibrate your resume, which is more ATS friendly. So you paste your resume on one side, on the left side, and you paste the job description. Okay, and then the system does things on its own. And lo and behold, it comes with a match rate. So as you are seeing on the screen, immediately within a matter of a few seconds, JobScan gives me an understanding that my resume is 63% compatible with the job description which I have put in. Okay, it also tells me elements which are missing from my profile. It also tells me elements which are already there. So the tick marks you can see are elements which are fine. The cross mark in red is something which my resume doesn't have. Okay, so it gives you a detailed analysis which you can utilize to rework on your resume and make it more ATS or recruiter friendly. And it's pretty extensive. So it goes into various elements pertaining to your resume. So I would strongly recommend all of you who are not aware of it to please, make full use of this fantastic platform. Sumit, any thoughts on this from your side?
I'm mind blown. Hashtag. This is like so amazing.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for this, man. This is like really cool. I'm
Absolutely.
Go on. This is love. I'm loving it.
Absolutely. Now, the third element is, see, as a part of the process, or when we are all looking out for a job opportunity, it's extremely important for each individual to know what your value is in terms of your, remuneration, or in terms of where you stand financially or what you're paid for. And for knowing your value in the present job market, the best platform to use is PayScale. So it's a reputed platform. So you go to PayScale. So I'll just, I'm fond of doing demos. So I'll just, go and do a quick demo on PayScale. Okay, so I hope all of you all can see my screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just go to PayScale. And I just go to the section which says get your pay report. I click that. It's absolutely simple to use. And then I can select one. I have an option of, in case I'm in a current job, I want salary information on my current role. In case I've got a job offer from elsewhere and I'm evaluating that, I can select and accordingly fill in the details. And in case I'm just evaluating or I'm just exploring job opportunities and I just want to know what my value in the job market is, I can select that and accordingly customize the data that I have, and you get the results as to what exactly your value or financial worth in the market is as on today. So this platform uses data from across the world. So you get data which is specific to your country, specific to your role. So for anyone who wants to understand or get a clarity on your financial worth, please utilize this platform.
Amazing.
And yeah, let me go back to the slide. And last, however, not least is the LinkedIn SSI. So SSI refers to the social selling index. How many of you all are aware of SSI? Can those of you all who are aware of it just mention it? Okay. Okay, so most of you all mentioned that you're not aware of it. So again, let me do a demo, and it's very simple to use. So LinkedIn SSI is an eye-opener for you to understand, in comparison to others with a similar profile, what is your visibility, what is the strength of your profile, and also gives you an understanding how you need to optimize it to get better results out of LinkedIn. Okay, so I'll just share the screen once again. So I go to Google search and I type, hope my screen is visible.
Yeah.
I just type LinkedIn Social Selling Index. So there is LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Please don't go into that. Just below that, there is Social Selling Index. So click that. So generally, in case you're already not logged into LinkedIn, you have to put in your email ID. So I just click to get your score free. So sorry, I did it a bit fast. So it will ask you to get your score free. In case you have not already logged into LinkedIn, it would ask you for your LinkedIn ID and password. So I already am logged into LinkedIn, so it comes directly. So let me not flatter myself, or let me not blow my own trumpet. For some reason, I rank among the top 1% within my industry in terms of my SSI rank. And within my network, I'm among the top 2%. Okay, of course, let me tell you, I've not done anything too consciously to achieve that. I'm happy about that nevertheless. So it takes me through the entire social selling index. So I have scored 76 out of 100 points based on various parameters which have been outlined, which includes establishing my professional brand, finding the right people, everything which you can see on the screen. And it also gives me a week-on-week perspective on what was my social selling index over the last month or so. Okay. And it also gives me an understanding that people within the industry, what was their or what is their SSI. So people with a similar profile like me have a SSI of 20. So I am possibly above average, thankfully. And people in my network, so I have a huge network of professionals who are a part of the LinkedIn community that I'm a part of. So they have 50 out of 100, which is their average SSI. So you can also do that. So it's a free tool. You don't pay anything for that. And it gives you an understanding as to where you stand as far as LinkedIn is concerned and how you can get better or where you need to go from there. So that's what SSI is all about. So Sumit, I want to ask you, were you aware of this?
No, man. Even though I'm actually literally living my life on LinkedIn, but it's like mind blown, literally. I wasn't aware of this at all, and honestly, a lot, especially this last sheet of yours alone, has given me a lot of food for thought. For was I even doing the right things while searching for a job? I'm not sure how others are feeling, but I'm like completely gutted into my seat at this point in time.
Absolutely. So I'm sure there's always a process of learning, and I'm sure that things would get better for all our friends who've been a part of the session. So that takes me towards the end of this particular session. So it has been a fantastic experience. Thanks everyone, and we can go on to the Q&A, Sumit.
Right. So before the Q&A, I'm just opening up on the chat. There is a form for collecting the feedback from all of you guys on what do you think about the webinar, what do you want to see going forward, any comments on the current one. I do see Winston saying SSI is 49. Okay, so you definitely have a good runway there to get started with. We also have some amazing inputs from Anwar Alam. Thank you so much, Anwar. I did ask him to share his LinkedIn, so definitely go ahead and do that. John, you want to share your LinkedIn profile so that others could possibly connect with you on LinkedIn and
Sure.
seek your
Sure.
blessings on a couple of other pieces?
So I don't know about blessings, so I'm the right person to give blessings, but I'll definitely oblige your request and share my.
We had. I'm just pulling out our chat from WhatsApp and pull out the questions that were asked on the form so that we are able to then take it in a much more structured fashion. We did get a question about the Google search, wherein somebody was wanting to ask about if we can search on the basis of location.
Okay.
So is that something which is possible there?
Yeah, there's a possibility. So in fact, you just need to type the name of the location. So what I can possibly do is, I don't have that with me as of now, but I can possibly share that link separately. So anyone who's interested to know about that can just send me a message on my LinkedIn profile. So you can just send me a message. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to share the link with you all.
Perfect.
So also take it as an open invitation. Sorry to interrupt you, Sumit.
No,
so yeah, so any time you all want any support or any guidance, please feel free to write to me on LinkedIn. So this is something which I can help. Unfortunately, I don't have it handy with me. Okay, because I just took out the points which are relevant or a few important points which I wanted to demonstrate. And in the interest of time, I do want to kind of keep you all on hold and search for, for those keywords. So because of that, please send me a message. I'll help you with that.
Perfect. Sandeep, you're asking me a question about online internship can help students or in-person internship. I think if the question is about internship per se, then any internship would do till the time you are able to demonstrate that you actually delivered. So at World of Webinar right now, we have about 12 interns with us, and these guys are absolutely smashing things right, left, and center. I'm absolutely proud of saying that we've been able to build World of Webinar with just interns, and given if we are able to make this entire venture a little more solid, I would just hire all of these guys in my team. You know,
Excellent.
but that goes out for saying. We do have questions about between graphical and textual resumes, which one is preferred more?
Okay. So having graphics these days is the norm. Okay, because people or recruiters especially don't like to just look at text. So certain infographics, of course, it should not lead to the resume being too cluttered. And please don't put it, just because you want to put it. However, having a graphical or infographical representation of data would make your resume more impactful. So it has to be a balance between text and images. Okay, and those images need to convey what you've achieved, or possibly some very clear understanding about what you've accomplished. But then the feedback that I get from most recruiters is any day they prefer a graphical resume as compared to a pure textual resume.
And in that case, would the ATS would still work the same way, or would it change?
No, ATS primarily looks at the text. Okay, so that's not going to have too much of impact. So within those infographics, it can analyze the text which is there as a part of those infographics as well. So as long as those words, the right words are mentioned, there should not be any issue. Because the ATS is trained to see, because an ATS like JobScan, it's actually serving the requirements based on a lot of testing. It has gone through millions of resumes before actually having gone live. So let me tell you that it's been through almost every type, textual, graphical, or a combination of both. So as long as the words are mentioned in some form or the other, it doesn't make too much of a difficulty as far as the ATS is concerned.
Right. Thanks. We do have a few questions about how do you see insurance sector in India growing? How do you build your personal brand? Keywords is important to get tracked in ATS. So personal branding, I think you did cover. Keywords you did cover in ATS. How to alter resume accordingly, you already shared at the job scan. So most of the questions have been answered. We did have one question more about MBA given higher preference in ATS to filter applicants. I think that's more about the kind of profile you are actually applying for. And can we discuss particular profile of this person? Okay, can you share some good way or course for building communication or storytelling skills? So for storytelling, we are doing a few webinars in the coming time, particularly storytelling from a business standpoint. We'll have some very senior leaders who are coming and going to talk about the art of storytelling and how do you actually craft your entire story. So do log on to our app and check on which particular webinars are coming in. Given if you figured out this particular webinar, you'll also get the other ones. Just to go back to the question that we get in the beginning, how to write the best CV. You now know that. Plan and find opportunities. You know that. Scope for banking is a little too particular question for this one. Maybe we can answer that separately. Reach out to me or to John, and we'll be more than happy to take up on that. Should I look at taking a pay cut or a depreciated role? I think that's a very personal question. I'm not sure if you would want to go too deep into it right now, but it all depends on what your storytelling is and where you are in the story. If you believe you're really worth your time and money and in the overall scheme of your life, I think why should you take a pay cut? But if you think that you really need your finances at this point in time and you need help with, you have liabilities to take, then just take whatever comes your way. Cut your losses and do it that way. What are the major takeaways from this webinar? Can you communicate in the first 10 minutes? Okay, which you've already done. What career paths going to accelerate post-COVID? You already spoke about it. Different kind of key areas, job of business analyst to work in. Specific question again, reach out to me or John. We'll come to that. what is the best way to reach out to companies we wish to work for? So it's peer approach versus network approach. So I think, yeah, amazing session. John, you've already answered all the questions before we even arrived into the Q&A side of it.
Yeah, Sumit, the last question,
Yeah.
can you just repeat it? Because I just wanted to share some input on that. The last session, that question that you mentioned, in case we apply on website, I think that was the question. So in
what
case
is the
we
best
apply,
way to reach out to companies we wish to work for if there is no response to our application via their website?
absolutely. And that's what you rightly said, LinkedIn. So
Yeah.
see, there is no better tool than LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is an absolute gold mine. Of course, it doesn't guarantee results, but then the possibility of responses. So in fact, folks like Sumit, I, and many of individuals who I know, we use LinkedIn for not only business development, for reaching out to a lot of people, we use this platform. And even for job search or for developing your career, getting linked to the right people, it can actually take you places. But identifying the right person, the decision maker or influencer, is going to be important. So in case you don't get response through the website, reach out, identify who's the decision maker or the influencer for that particular role or requirement that you're going to be applying to, and reach out to that person one-on-one. Or even better, try to understand who are common or mutual connects between both of y'all. So the right strategy would be, rather than just putting a mail or an email or possibly a message or a connection request, ask someone who is known to you, because LinkedIn gives you that opportunity to understand who are mutual connects. So request your mutual connect to take the discussion forward and introduce you to him or her, and then take the discussion. And what happens then? The credibility is built. Okay, so you're not a random stranger to that person. You are someone else's connect who's known to that person possibly. So that is an approach which I would like to recommend.
Right. So land and expand is how I call it. Connect and then ask them for an internal reference. Any more questions, guys? I know we've shot our time. I asked John that let's keep it for 40 minutes, but this kind of went in, and it was an amazing session and just so much to learn from that. Just last 2-3 questions maybe that you want to ask John, and then we'll close the session. Okay, Gopinath is asking, brand building by increasing on LinkedIn versus getting relevant certifications. How should we balance both, as certifications are measurable, but brand building is a long-term game meant increasing exposure?
See, both are two sides of the same coin. Okay. So even if you have certifications, where do you display it? You display it either on your resume or on your LinkedIn profile. So if you're looking at a career transformation, or you're looking at taking your career to the next level, getting certification becomes extremely important, because you're possibly building skill sets or knowledge sets as a result of that. But then putting it up on LinkedIn, and of course you mentioned about brand building. There's very few platforms like LinkedIn which can actually give you that kind of a visibility. So you'll have to find a balance between both. And as I very clearly mentioned, the formula, if you remember, I mentioned it's a combination of skills plus network plus, all that you need to do to take your career to the next level. So it's going to be a combination of, various factors. In that, even personal branding is important. So it's how you actually manage both those elements. Yeah.
Maybe, John, we should definitely do one session on personal branding itself. Like, what does it mean? A lot of times people believe that having connections or having a star rating is what personal branding is. Doing some stellar courses or having brands on your resume is what personal branding is. But I think personal branding actually goes much more beyond just the colleges or the certifications that you've done.
Absolutely.
It may not be a bad idea to actually do a separate session on just focused on personal branding.
Absolutely. So Sumit, personal branding, so for the advantage of everyone, so personal branding doesn't only refer to how you appear on LinkedIn. It is, as you rightly said, it's much deeper. It's how you're perceived by people, because a brand is built on perception. So if you take a brand like say Amul or Surf or Rin, all these brands are incomplete without people who visualize or attach a meaning to it. So that's also the same when it comes to individuals. It's how you're perceived as. So personal branding is a very deep concept, but in today's perception driven scenario, no individual can thrive without being a strong personal brand. Because I meet a lot of executives who say that yeah, personal branding is nothing which is too important to us. However, let me tell you that without having a strong personal brand, you cannot reach where you need to reach, be it as an entrepreneur or be it as a senior corporate executive or a CEO.
Absolutely. I think there was this old saying which talks about, you're known by the group of friends you make. So if you don't have a personal brand, you can't really grow in a network, and the network will not respond to you. So your personal worth and your personal brand would only ensure that your network is actually responding to the G2G framework. So, and I
Absolutely.
don't think there is any tool which can possibly do that for you, or it can tell you what your personal branding is. So you just have to work on it and then see how you're actually the network is growing.
Absolutely.
So on that note, thank you so much, John, for this absolutely amazing, mind-blowing, this entire webinar. For last about 20 minutes, I was gutted into my seat, and going by the comments that we are receiving in the chat, I'm hoping that everybody else also kind of enjoyed. Um, do leave your LinkedIn into the chat section, John, so that people can reach out to you as a link while you've already shared it. And look forward to doing another session with you on personal brand building alone. And for all others, we'll be doing a few storytelling sessions very, very soon, wherein some very senior industry folks would be helping you with how to actually, go about doing the entire storytelling from a side. So Sanjay is coming in almost like the last minute. It's like Indian police entering into the movie. So cool. On the nose, thank you so much, guys. This was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for spending your time. From the whole team of World of Webinars Originals, thank you so much. Have a good day ahead. Thanks, John. You've been absolutely helpful.
Absolutely. Thanks very much, Sumit, and thanks to all our friends for making this a fantastic session. Please feel free to reach out to Sumit or me for any support anytime. Thanks very much.
Thank you.